All right, so today's class is on the excretory system. So this is our second last system that we have to look at. After this, we're going to look at the nervous system. All right, so the excretory system deals with waste. So the body produces different types of waste. So for example, when we were looking at the respiratory system, we saw that carbon dioxide was a waste product. All right, so these wastes that we're talking about, they are poisonous, so they're toxic, and they can cause harm if they are not removed from the body. So when we talk about the word excretion, that means waste removal. And the excretory system removes any chemical or gaseous wastes from the body, and it'll involve organs from other bodily systems. But the key organ in this system are the two kidneys that we have. All right, so the excretory system deals with waste products. So like I said, carbon dioxide is a waste product, and it gets removed from the blood by the lungs during gas exchange. So when we exhale, we are exhaling or eliminating the carbon dioxide. Ammonia is another waste product. It's a very toxic compound that's produced in our bodies when cells break down proteins. So ammonia has to be dealt with the excretory system. Chemical processes in cells also produce water and salts as waste products. Now water, we do need water in our bodies, but we need water in certain amounts at certain times. So some water is going to be eliminated as a waste product. All right, so the liver does deal with excretion. We also saw the liver was part of the digestive system as well, where it was producing bile, but it does play a role in excretion as well. So ammonia, like I said in the previous slide, ammonia is a toxic compound that gets produced in our bodies when we break down proteins. All right, so the liver, it's going to take that toxic ammonia in the bloodstream and it's going to convert it into a less harmful substance called urea. All right, this urea, it is still considered harmful, but it is less toxic than ammonia. All right, so that urea, it still has to be disposed of, even though it is less harmful. So what the liver is going to do is it's going to release the urea into the bloodstream. All right, so now we have this waste product in our bloodstream, and it has to be disposed of. And that's where the kidneys come into play. All right, so the kidneys are the main organs of excretion. They're about 10 centimeters long. So here we see the two kidneys, and they act as filters of the blood. So they're going to filter out the blood. They're going to strain out any unwanted urea, water, and other salts, and they will produce the urine. And it's about 180 liters of blood will pass through the kidneys each day, but only about 1.5 liters of urine is actually produced from the 180 liters that passes through the kidneys. The amount of urine will also depend on how much water you drink. So the more water you drink, the more urine you may be producing. And the kidneys, they're going to keep the proper amount of water in our blood. If there's too much water, they're going to excrete lots of water and therefore produce a lot of urine. All right, so continuing to look at the kidneys. So here is one kidney. So the blood is going to enter the kidney by this renal artery, shown in red, and then the artery branches into capillaries, and those capillaries are going to enter these filtering units shown here. Those filtering units are called nephrons. So the kidney has millions and millions of these nephrons. So here, we'll take a close-up look of one nephron shown right here. So what nephrons are going to do is they're going to remove waste from the blood and produce the urine. And what they're doing is they're filtering blood, filtering out all the wastes. And then the filtered blood is returned back to the body through the renal vein, so shown here in blue. All right, and then the urine that is produced is going to flow out of the nephron into this tube here called the ureter. And because we have two kidneys, we're going to have two ureters. So here is another diagram here showing the ureter. All right, so looking here, we got the two kidneys. All right, the kidneys contained all of those filtering units called the nephrons, millions and millions of nephrons. And once the urine is formed, they're going to enter these two tubes coming off of the kidneys, and they're called the ureters. And we can see here the ureters are now leading to this organ here, that is the bladder. All right, so ureters, they're the long tubes that connect the kidneys to the bladder. The bladder is a sac. It's covered in muscle tissue. So urine is going to enter the bladder, and the bladder is able to expand. The bladder can store about 1 liter of urine. And then when the bladder gets full, a signal is sent to the brain and so on, and that the bladder is full, that you have to go to the bathroom. And then the muscles will contract, and then they're going to push the urine out through another tube right here, and that tube is called the urethra. All right, so there's two ureters and one urethra. So one way to remember the difference between ureter and urethra is the ureter, there's two E's, so therefore there's two ureters. The urethra has one E, and there's only one urethra in the body. So that's one way to remember those two names of those tubes. All right, the skin will also function in eliminating waste as well. The skin has thousands of tiny sweat glands just below the surface. So sweat, it is produced to keep you cool and remove excess salt from the blood. The salt gets added to the sweat, so when you sweat, you are also excreting salts. Urine can also reveal diseases. If protein is found in the urine, it can mean that the kidneys are failing. Basically, the kidneys have lost the ability to filter blood properly. If there's glucose, which is a sugar, if glucose is found in the urine, it can mean that a person has diabetes. The cells can't absorb glucose, so glucose is building up in the bloodstream. And because the blood has so much glucose, the nephrons can't filter it out, and therefore it's being added into the urine. All right, next we're just going to talk about dialysis. So people are able to live with one kidney, but if both kidneys are not functioning properly, or maybe if there was some sort of an accident, like a car accident, and both kidneys are damaged, then there are ways to keep the blood clean using this dialysis machine. So basically, this dialysis machine, it acts as a kidney. All right, so again, it could be because the kidneys got damaged, or maybe there's some sort of disease in the kidneys that's not allowing the kidneys to function properly. So what the machine can do is it can remove all the waste from the blood, just like a normal kidney would do. And then the blood, it basically flows into a special tubing inside the machine, so shown here, and it's made up of a selectively permeable material. So recall, selectively permeable means it allows only certain substances to diffuse through it. The tubing is also surrounded by fluid, so waste from the blood diffuses out of the blood and goes into the fluid, and then certain substances from the fluid can diffuse back into the blood. And then the blood will then flow back into the person. And this process, it usually takes about 4 to 6 hours to fully clean the blood, and then people have to undergo dialysis about 3 times a week.